Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wingcat Sports. It's our weekly Red Wings breakdown. We go over what happened for the Red Wings this week and what's going on next week. They lost all three games this week, one of them in OT. First one this week that they lost was to the Kraken 5-4. Lots of people would say we should not have lost that game due to a couple miscalled penalties and a thrown stick that we would have had our time to tie it and probably win that game.
Yeah, the refs the whole week I just thought were abysmal. I mean, they went both ways, but it felt like the Wings got the brunt of it. Uh, I, I, I mean, the Kraken's a good team. They haven't been playing super well lately, but they're a good team, and I think they just kind of are getting the rust off, and they played a really good game against us. I just thought we were lackluster early on. But I don't think the Brinkat has scored a goal over the last 3 games,
I
has
think
he?
he scored against Seattle, but I
Did
don't
he?
know the other two.
Okay.
But the Seattle had 38 shots on that compared to our 27. So your defense wasn't all there against Seattle, but still, the reffing for that game was not good at all. You almost made it to a shootout. I think the Kraken scored with like 3 seconds left in OT.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you almost made it to a shootout to see if you might be able to win it there. But overall, I think the refs more dictated that Seattle game than it should have been, and you should have had your chance.
The
But
stick throwing was ridiculous. Um, you don't see something like that. And it just seems like early on, and maybe this is regular season, it's all and there's nothing that's going to change, but these early season calls where half the time they seem like phantom calls and the other half the time they don't call stuff that's legit. Um, I thought the Dylan Larkin penalty was garbage. That allowed them to tie it up. Um, basically. So I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know.
the next game was against Winnipeg. You ended up losing to Winnipeg. I thought that probably would have been between the games. It's either Boston or Winnipeg you would end up losing to. You end up losing them 4-1, two empty net goals, so really 2-1 at the end of the day when you look at it. 29 shots by Winnipeg compared to your 36. You out hit them. You won more faceoffs than them. They did have more power play opportunities, but there's no power play goals. Your power play hasn't really done too much this week to keep up with the repertoire it had for those first few games. But a loss to Winnipeg, you were going to have to lose eventually. And they ended up being the team you lost to.
Yeah, and Hellebuck was great. I that was a legit loss. We should not have won that game, and we didn't. And Winnipeg deserved every bit of it.
The next game, I didn't really get to watch too much of it, but you ended up going into Boston. As far as I was aware of what I saw, you gave them a game as much as you could. You did end up losing 4-1. I think it was 3-1 before the empty net got scored. You held your ground against Boston. I didn't think you were going to beat them because of how hot of a start they had. I didn't think they were going to be as good of a team this year, and they have proved me wrong. They have started out really good. They're going to be a really good team throughout this year. And again, Red Wings did not capitalize on their power play opportunities. They had 4. However, that penalty shot that the Boston had might have been something that I know you're not the happiest about.
No, I mean, again, it's when they got up 2-0, I thought the levee was going to break and it was going to be a slaughter. But we righted the ship, played really well in the second and third periods. We deserved a better fate. Joe Villano continued his hot streak. The guy's been great. I think before the season, that was the one player everyone was kind of just disregarding. And Joe Villano's been great. Really a lot of energy, production on that line. Been one of my favorite lines to watch. But then, they give Pasternak, I guess, if you make any contact at all, they're going to call a penalty on these things. It's very hard to play. It's almost like you should just if somebody gets a breakaway, don't even bother trying to break it up. Just let them shoot on the goal. Because you're giving Pasternak a penalty shot. You might as well. That guy's, 90% of the time, he's going to bury it. He's just that good. It's very tough. And I think that's what took all the steam out. They went up 3-1, scored an empty net goal. But I thought the Wings played really well from the end of the first period on.
After the week, you're still a top 5 team in the East, which is really good. It's good to have at least a decent team back. Yes, you lost all your games this week, but you're still showing that you are a good team, and you're getting by some of these bad calls that are happening. Seattle, even though there's bad calls throughout the game, you still were able to force overtime. Boston, you were fighting with them the whole game, even though you lost 4-1. You looked like a good team throughout the whole game. So it's good to see that they are playing as a good team, and they're not just falling apart after a hot start.
I think when you see them against teams like Boston and the better teams in the league, I do think you just want to see that they have a shot to win. You want them to be competitive. You want them to be there, and I think every once in a while you should beat a Boston. You should beat the better team, the Torontos and stuff like that in our division. But at the very least, show you belong, and they did. They did Saturday. I mean, I thought for a while there, like I said, I was going to go the other way, but they showed they belonged on the ice with them.
Yeah. The week's game, we have 3 games, I believe, this week that we will be playing. We have a Monday, Thursday, Saturday onslaught this week. You're going to start your first game this week on Monday. They will be in New York playing the Islanders. I think they could beat the Islanders. The Islanders are a good team, but I believe you can end up beating them. We should have no problem against them. So far this year, the Islanders are averaging about 2.5 goals a game, 2.7 goals against. We have 4 goals per game at the moment, 3.1 goals against. We're averaging about 30 shots a game. They're averaging about 32. So it is, I'm going to say it's slightly favorable for the Red Wings for the game. New York is favored in it, but I think the Wings can make it out of New York with a win.
The Islanders play a very dull game. They're a defensive-minded team. I think they've lost 3 in a row too. They may have won their last one. I'm not sure.
They're 4-2-1 at the moment of making
4-2-1. Well, I think they went on. So hopefully, we can get a point out of there, but it's not easy. I mean, they're one of the teams we're fighting with the playoff spot for.
Yeah, their power play at the moment is abysmal. New York's power play is only 13%. So
they don't win that way. They win by keeping the game score low.
And their penalty kill is a 77%. Right, you're down to a 34%, and the Wings have an 82% penalty kill. But I think you can make it out of New York with a win.
Yeah, that was one of the weird things about Boston. I've never seen that before, but it was like they had like a 98% penalty kill.
Well, it's the beginning of the year. You're not gonna.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny.
You're gonna get some weird numbers right away, but 13% on a power play already at this point of the year is not good. So
no.
That doesn't mean you can take penalties though. Your next game you face this week, you're facing the reigning Eastern Conference champions on Thursday back at home, the Florida Panthers. So far, the Panthers this year, they haven't been doing great. They're 4-3 as the making of this video. They're averaging 2.8 goals so far in the year. Also 2.8 goals against so far this year. Averaging about 34 shots a game. Shots against around 30, and they have a 16% power play and a 66% penalty kill percentage. I think you can handle the Panthers. Like I always have said, they always are on and off. One year they're good, one year they're bad. It might not be their year this year, even though they snuck in last year. I don't think they're going anywhere this year.
Another Tkachuk brother we get to face. Maybe Brady's passed the word on to fucking to take out a wing or something like that. But I like Florida. I think they're a good team. They're a fun team to watch, physical. So I think that'll be a really good challenge.
I think you can beat Florida, especially, again, if you get on the power play. Their penalty kill is 66%. And if you end up accidentally taking some bad penalties, it's 16% for their power play. You're going to be able to handle that, I think.
Yeah.
And you should be able – I think you beat the Islanders. You can beat the Panthers. And then you come on to Saturday. You got your first rematch with Boston. You're at home. You are going to do your best probably to win this game. I could see us making it out because we're at home, but we'll see what ends up happening.
It's going to be a rough week because you got two teams against two teams that we should be fighting for a playoff spot for. That are right even with us as far as, like I said, they're going to be good challenges. And then you got Boston. It's going to be a tough week.
Yep.
If we could come out of this 2-1, 6 possible points, if we can come out of it with at least 3 or 4 points, that would be great.
Yeah. The Boston so far this year, after the week, 3.25 goals per game, 1.5 goals against, 32 shots per game, typically averaging. They have a power play percentage of only 17% at the moment, but their penalty kill, as you were stating, is at the moment 97.
It's unbelievable.
97% penalty kill rate at the moment.
Watching them, you can see it. They have a great goaltending tandem, and they have great defense, and their forwards play great defense. And they've got some really great offensive players like Pastrnak. So, despite losing those two centers last year, doesn't seem to have stopped their momentum.
No, it does not. Which is why I thought people would be leaving. They're not going to be able to keep the momentum going into this year after a strong year last year, getting kicked out of the first round by the Panthers. I thought they were going to struggle this year, but they're starting 7-0. I'm going to say you're going to be the first team to beat them. Boston, I don't even know who Boston faces this week. We can even see who Boston faces
and
this week.
I beat them in overtime, but not in regular.
Well, I would say your first regulation loss.
Which is weird because Anaheim is horrible. So it must have just been an off night for them or something. I don't know.
Potentially. They actually face Florida on Monday, too. They'll probably beat Florida. And then they face Toronto on Thursday.
So it's a big week for them, too.
So, and then they face us on Saturday. So we'll see maybe we'll be the first team to beat them. Maybe Toronto can sneak that first loss in for Boston. But in the Eastern Conference, the top 5 teams are all original 6 teams. All 5 that are in the Eastern Conference are all the top of the conference right now, which is good. It's good to see that. Chicago, they're struggling in the West. We can't do anything about that.
I was looking ahead to our schedule for the month or so, and it's going to be a lot of fun games coming up. So it should be a fun month of hockey. Hopefully, the Wings can at least stay competitive and stay above 500. That's the goal.
If they can keep the momentum they're doing, winning a few games here, you'll lose a couple. You're not going to win every game. You're going to probably lose about 30 to 35 games, I think. Kind of what?
I hope not.
Well, 30, if you're 40 and 30, 40 and 32, 40 and 33, maybe a couple more wins than that.
I want that 90 points. That's what I'm looking at.
So, well, I said 99.
Yeah.
I predicted
ain't gonna do that losing 30-some games. So
I predicted 99 points. So I think we can make it there. But it should be a fun week. They got some good games coming on. Hopefully they can win a couple of them and keep the streaks going. With that being said, though, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and you'll do all that fun stuff. Until next time, hope to see everybody soon.